36 years of basketball knowledge and life skills. Your host, Coach Goins, focuses on today's topics on and off the court, helping players and coaches achieve their goals. So get ready for another fast break episode of Basketball More Than a Game with your host, Coach Goins.
Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's that time of day. Yes, again, is it time for Sunday conversation? That is so true. So listen, it's Coach Goins, and I'm so glad to be back in the studio. And it is that time. Like, Coach, who's on? Wait a minute, calm down. You'll know who's on. None other than Mr. Michael T. Quick. So you said, man, it is already that time of month. You know the co-host is back, and he already told me he's got his notepad full of action-packed stuff. So, but before we get into all that good stuff, we got to make sure that we are paying the bills. So we want to make sure that we give our title sponsor a nice shout out, and that is Mr. Curtis T. Jackson. He is a broker, agent, and benefits coordinator out of North Carolina, and now serving the great Commonwealth of Virginia. So for your insurance needs, please reach out to Mr. Curtis Jackson at area code 919-614-5796. And as always, make sure you talk to him before you really need that insurance, so make sure it's in place and that you have it. So make sure you let him know that you heard his advertisement on Basketball More Than the Game. We appreciate his continued support as we just give a shout out to all of our followers in the United States, as well as Australia, Japan, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, Finland, Germany, Dominican Republic, the Netherlands, Kuwait, Canada, and coming to you pretty soon. So all that's out of the way, and we have none other than Mr. Michael T. Quick, our co-host once a month, as we always promise you. He's back with us. So, Mr. Quick, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, Coach Goins. How are you?
All right, man. So listen, folks, yes, we are going international. So when you see Mr. Quick now, and as he posts this, let him know that he is also an international podcast co-host as we are making it pop all across the United States as well as the world. So we certainly appreciate everybody as they continue to take a listen to us. And we're available on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean.com, Facebook, as well as SoundCloud. So you can just dial us in and go, hey, I'm always all about tracking you and see what's the good stuff popping. So with that, Mr. Quick, you know what? It's football, man. So what I'm going to do, I've got my stuff pulled up over my screen, and I don't know what you got on your screen since you're via from North Carolina. So we'll let you go ahead and kick off this the first part of the podcast, which we always entitle Fast Break. So, Mike, you are on lead.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to the NFL season kicking off tonight. First game, the defending Super Bowl champs, the New England Patriots, hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. All should be a great ball game tonight. Battle of two great head coaches, Andy Reid and Bill Belichick. The New England, everybody's seen what they did coming back against the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl last season. Andy Reid has his troops ready to go, so we're looking forward to a great ball game tonight and a big weekend of NFL action.
Watch out now. Let's go on. I know they're kicking it off, and I know my man Mr. Gaudette's gonna be there, and I know they're gonna be booing him, for everything that's going down in the league. And Mike is exactly right. Think about it. The Chiefs are at the Patriots. It should be a high scoring game, and we definitely look forward to that. And let's go ahead, since we talk about it, let's just go ahead and run down. You know what? I'm going to take your picks, Mike. You know what we're going to do? We're going to see how well you're going to do. So I've got my pen right here, and we're going to see exactly how good Mr. Quick is going to do. And we're going to run down week one schedule, okay? So tonight, who are you taking, Mr. Quick, and against the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New England Patriots?
I'm going with the champs. I can't go against Mr. Brady and Mr. Belichick tonight. They're getting honoring the champs tonight, probably getting their ring. So I got to go with the Patriots.
All right. So let's turn our attention to the Jets and the Bills. Let's stay up north with that game. Who are you taking?
I'm going with the Jets.
All right, he's going with the Jets, and I'm just logging all this down, folks. All right, staying in the, come on. Why am I going to ask this question? So we're going to dip on down a little bit to the the NFC East. How about them Philadelphia Eagles versus none other than your boys, the Washington Redskins?
Well, I tell you, I can't go against my Redskins, so we're at home this weekend at FedEx, so I'm taking the Redskins over the Eagles 20-17.
Oh, man, he even dropped the score down there, so let me put that down. 20-17. Folks, I told you in the beginning, make sure you have your shoes tight and got them laced up. All right, so what's going on? Marshawn Lynch and the boys rolling down to Tennessee. So the Raiders versus the Titans.
I'm going with Raider Nation. Marshawn Lynch and David Carr.
All right, so all right, let's look. Okay, this says Jacksonville at Texas. I think that game has been postponed. I hope I'm not misspeaking, but I think they're going to hold off on that just due to the fact that Houston is still. I haven't heard that they're going to move that venue, but I know they're dealing with, of course, some issues there. So all in all, that game. We'll kind of leave that out, and I kind of go back and double check on that because I don't want to misspeak. Or do you know anything leading up to that game, Mike?
Haven't heard anything in regards to that game, but I do know the Tampa Bay game has been postponed to week 11.
All right, so there we go. Folks, that's why he is on the show. So let's go ahead. Who you got in Jacksonville versus Texas?
I'm going with the Houston Texans.
All right, so he's got the Texans because they're going to play that Cinderella season. All right, let's go out there and let's talk a little bit of Larry Fitzgerald versus none other than them fellas from the Detroit Lions.
I got to go with the Arizona Cardinals in this game.
All right, now, be careful with this next one. This is a high-powered offense. The Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns.
Pittsburgh Steelers in a rout.
Oh, man. All right, we appreciate that vote of confidence. The Falcons versus the Bears.
Going with the Falcons.
All right, going with the Falcons. And that new store there in Chicago, but pretty soon they'll be down in that new Mercedes-Benz dome. All right, so we got the Ravens versus the Bengals.
Going with the Bayou Bengals.
All right, going with the Bengals. All right, what about the Colts versus the Rams?
I'm going to take the Rams in this game.
All right, got the Rams. All right, now we're going to go on down there to, we out west. So we got the Panthers at the 49ers.
Panthers over the 49ers.
All right, so you got the Panthers over the 49ers. All right, what about the Seahawks versus the Green Bay Packers?
I'm going with Aaron Rodgers and the boys.
Watch out now. All right, let's go on again back to the NFC East. We got the New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys.
It's in Dallas, but I'm going with the New York Giants on the road this weekend. I cannot pick for the Dallas Cowboys.
All right. And Monday night. That's right. There's two games Monday night. We got the Saints and the Vikings. Who you rolling with?
I'm taking the Saints in that game.
All right, taking the Saints. And last but not least, we got the Chargers versus the Broncos.
I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos.
You're going to ride with the Broncos. All right, ladies and gentlemen, week 1 is in the book, and that is that's none other than Mr. Michael T. Quick. So, hey, let's go ahead and, you know what, we're going to give a shout-out real quick to all of the teams. As we know, everybody's, their goal is to get to the Super Bowl, and we know that everybody won't achieve that, but we know that that's their goal. So 2 teams will battle it out to win. Or to go and hoist that Lombardi trophy. So good luck to all the teams as they head into this season. Hopefully they'll be able to play through all the issues and making sure that everything is squared away from head to toe. So before we jump on into this next rhythm, I got to give Mike a little opportunity to talk about his Skins and what he sees as the sleeper and what have they done to reinforce their efforts for the campaign of this season.
Well, over the off season, we lost our 2 top receivers in Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson. So I was a little leery. I felt like we were going into the season, it was going to be a long year. But as camp opened and the preseason progressed, it seems like our receiving core is going to be pretty good. Adding Terrell Pryor at 6'5", to me, that's a big weapon. I'm just hoping that we'll be able to make adjustments from week to week, and hopefully we can be a playoff team. I'm not going to count us out yet. I had threw us in the water, over the off season, but maybe our receiving core can bail us out of some ball games this year. We'll make the playoffs.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, you heard that. So listen, I'm a Steeler fan, so let me just go ahead and run that down. Picking up Hayden out of Cleveland, that's a big deal for us, Mike. And we also picked up one of the guys secondary out of the Cowboys. So that's where we were lacking. We really needed to beef that up, and we certainly appreciate the Steeler organization taking care of business and rolling that in. But also, we also want to give a shout out to Mr. Rooney He passed during the off season, so we will be wearing a nice clover. It's going to be black and gold, and his initials will be in the clover. So we honor him this year as we roll into this campaign. Again, just a tremendous family who has been very vital and very instrumental into the overall betterment of the league. So we just wish the Rooney family heartfelt condolences as we roll in without, as we say, the ambassador, Mr. Art Rooney. He was ambassador to Ireland. So again, it's just a great opportunity for us to really play and really have go after one, celebrating his life and what he did as an owner of such a tremendous franchise. So hey, let's talk a little bit, Mike, about some of these guys. Let's go with guys that's not in the league. That's right now possibly on the bubble. And I want to start off with the quarterback position. All right, so I'm going to toss this to you. Why is Colin Kaepernick not in this league?
I can't understand it right now. In a previous show, we talked about how I felt he's being blackballed, and even there's been a report to surface this week that Ray Lewis reported that Stephen Bisciotti, the owner of the Baltimore Ravens, they were talking about signing Colin Kaepernick, and then his girlfriend posted something on social media, referenced Ray Lewis hugging Stephen Bisciotti to the movie Django Unchained, and where the slave owner had his butler was hugging him, so they took it as a racial thing, and and he said Ray Lewis stated that they were about to offer Colin Kaepernick a contract, and when that happened, they decided not to. I don't necessarily agree with that. I wish they'd have went ahead on and offered him a contract, because I feel like Colin Kaepernick is a guy that can help some football team this year. There's no way that there are 29 other backup quarterbacks that are better than Colin Kaepernick. I just don't see that.
You know what, Mike, and that's eloquently put. I know it's a delicate subject, but that's at the end of the day, what is it about? Is it about and again, it's my opinion, so I'm going to go here. What can the guy do on the field? These people ask me as a veteran, as a minority, should a person stand up for the You know what? We live in America, and the thing with that is, you have, and that's part of living in America, is that you have people that may not want to stand for the flag. Okay, you know what? That's their right. If they don't want, I'm not telling you it's right, and I'm not telling you it's wrong. But in America, you got a choice. If I want to get out here and drive to North Carolina, I want to drive 100 miles an hour. I got to be man enough to deal with the consequences of driving 100 miles an hour. If I'm playing with organization and I don't want to stand doing the national anthem for whatever reason, and if they deem me, okay, we don't want this guy to play, then I've got to understand, okay, I might not be playing because I'm making this statement. So again, it all lies with the individual. It lies, we know there's, guys that's out there that, should be giving shots, that's not giving shots, and they'll, keep moving around and not being able to land on somebody just because, they don't want a person in the league. If that's what they want to do with people, as an owner or as a organization, so be it. But, in the end, when you know that, to your point, Mike, when you know that guy, or there's somebody on the sidelines that can, or not even on the sideline, that somebody is at home, the only thing they need is a phone to ring, and they could come in and help you out. That is a tremendous, talent that is not being utilized. So, with that, let's talk a little bit about one of your former guys. I saw earlier today that he was working out a little bit, and that's Robert Griffin III. He got another workout. I think he was out on the West Coast working out for another team out there, which is, and that he's almost kind of reminds me of kind of Colin Kaepernick. When the first year they came in the league and they were able to do their thing, and then the next little bit, everybody was kind of spying him. So what's your take on Robert Griffin? Do you think he still has an opportunity to be in the National Football League?
I certainly think the young man could definitely be somebody's backup. He's had a lot of injuries, torn ACLs, dislocated kneecaps, things to that nature. But I think he could be somebody's backup. And, I take a look at a team right now, the Indianapolis Colts, who their quarterback is on the physically unable to perform list going into the season. I think that's a team that could use somebody like Colin Kaepernick or Robert Griffin III, and they could really help their franchise if Andrew Luck is back and able to play. Because the one thing, the AFC South is definitely going to be a lot tougher this year. Houston Texans are playing for something much bigger than themselves this season. The Tennessee Titans are a much better football team. So the Colts, without Luck, I think they could really fall behind the eight ball. And I think Robert Griffin III or Colin Kaepernick could probably help them if they were in uniform. I really believe that.
You know what? And that's none other than Mike Quick. So hey, listen, let's go ahead and kind of shift on over to some of these guys. Here's what I don't understand. This guy, they call him a quarterback, and we're gonna call him Brock Osweiler. How does he get traded? He goes to Cleveland. They drop. Now they got to pay this dude $16 million.
Yes, sir.
Then he ends up. Now he's in Cleveland. Now I want you to get. I'm gonna say this, and I want you to come back at me. This dude is making $16 million, and he's not playing for Cleveland. For Cleveland, did I say Cleveland? Did I say Cleveland Browns?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want
That's why that organization is dysfunctional.
Right. You pay this guy $16 million, and you cut him. And then to your point, now you got guys with, I'm going to get on my soapbox. Now you got guys like Kaepernick, but you pay this guy $16 million. Now he ends up back in Denver. And I heard it, this week on I think it was Mike and Mike. He was talking about, he's back and he's playing for league minimum, which is $700,000. I guess that's going to be, I don't know, is that going to be flash cash? Because Cleveland's paying him $16 million to leave. So what do you think about what do you think about this? What do you think about this guy?
Osweiler, I never understood why he decided to leave Denver after the Super Bowl win. I guess he was upset because he come in during the Super Bowl year when Peyton was out hurt, kept him afloat. He wanted a big payday, so he left him to take the big payday. When he should have stayed there because he was going to be handed the keys to the car. They were going to turn the franchise over to him. And in that system, the Denver Broncos system, he probably would have done well. But once he left, it's like his whole career fell apart. I think he left, took the money in Houston. He didn't pan out there, so they ended up trading him to Cleveland. Like you said, Cleveland's paying him $16 million.
That's the Cleveland. Is that the Cleveland Browns?
The Cleveland Browns. Yes, sir. And I just can't. I don't understand it. But like you said, he's back. He's playing for the league minimum, and he's still getting $16 million from the Cleveland Browns. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Well, so I might have to send Mr. Osweiler my resume and say, "Hey, dude, if you need some off-duty security, you need to hit me up. I only charge $700,000 for the season to give you some executive protection." Hey, so listen, let's turn our attentions over to Jamal Charles. You know what? I'm not understanding this. You know what I mean? He's got to be one of the most unappreciated running backs that's out there, right? He gets out here, and I mean, this dude is just like, but then he ends up in Denver, and now they're talking about it. They don't even know if he still going to be able to do the things that he needs to do. I just don't understand, and maybe that's why this whole contract thing around running backs, and I know Le'Veon Bell just showed up this past Monday. These dudes want a boatload of money, but that's a position they're not getting a lot of money playing the running back just because I looked at Ezekiel Elliott's carries last year. You get that ball, you get that dude that ball that many times, he ain't gonna be around long. Not in this league. You getting wonders like, man, well, why is he, I think he had, 14, 15, 1600. You're like, are you out of your mind? You're going to let the guy carry the ball that many times? Yeah, he's young right now, but as he starts to age, that's going to be an opportunity as well. So, hey, what about this guy right here? And I think sometimes they're throwing this guy out a little bit, he's bouncing around, but that's Victor Cruz. I'm really, what's your take on him?
Victor Cruz he's a great athlete, good football player. I just think with some of the injuries that he's had, teams are a little leery of him. And same case, you mentioned Jamal Charles, but I happen to think Jamal Charles running behind that Denver Broncos offensive line, that may be a special opportunity. Victor Cruz is a guy I feel can still help many football teams. I really believe that. But teams, for whatever reason, they're afraid because of the injury bug.
Right, and you know what, and that may be right, and he may be a guy that can come in and just short yardage situation to be able to come in there and do some things. But I just think and I know at the end of the day, it's about you're paying guys, and you guys that you pay. You want them to play, not unless you're the Cleveland Browns, where they may give you $16 million and then trade you. I don't know. I mean, I might have to come out of my retirement and jump on some stuff. But you know what? That's the thing that sometimes you stop and you wonder and you go, what is it about? What do you want these guys to do? How do you want them to do it? And the thing is, ultimately, and I know what they're trying to do and what they're trying to play for, but when you get a guy that has proven himself like Victor Cruz, and to your point, Mike, and I'm not going against what you said, not in the least bit, but the guy has had a great career, and he had knee injury, and I think that may be, to your point, maybe what's kind of drawing the card back from the table. But the thing is, when it all boils down to it, what do you do when you've got a guy like that available that has proven himself that he can take care of business off of the field? What would you rather have? Would you rather have a young guy that you don't know what he's going to bring you, or you rather have a seasoned veteran that may be a little gimpy, but in that, if you do him right and you play him right, he may be able to give you a little bit of stuff down the way. So what's your take?
Yes, I want a guy like Victor Cruz in my locker room. There's no doubt about it. He's a leader, and he's proven talent. So I would love to have him in my locker room. That's for sure.
And just like right here, it says Robert Griffin. Robert Griffin, he worked out for the Chargers. I thought I was reading my stuff right, and he says the former Washington Redskins and the Cleveland Browns has worked out for the Chargers. So we wish him well and everything that he's got to be able to do. But I think let's I want to call out a little bit of John Elway a little bit. And I think old Doc Elway is struggling to find that quarterback, and I don't know if that's because I'm going to call it the Magic Johnson syndrome, and not throwing Magic under the bus at all, but I'm just calling it the Magic Johnson syndrome. It's like it's as if Magic, and I'll go ahead and corral in MJ. It's just like MJ trying to find his replacement. It's like Magic Johnson trying to find his replacement. Do you think John Elway is struggling trying to find that right quarterback for Denver?
Yes, sir. I really do. And the thing is, he struck gold getting Peyton Manning because the Colts wanted to give up on Peyton when they thought, his career was on the downside with all the neck surgery. So he struck gold with Peyton, went on to win a Super Bowl. I'm not going to say even because of Peyton. I'm going to say because of his defense. But he is having fits trying to find a franchise quarterback to lead this team into the future. And, he's looked in the draft. He's looked in free agency. I think you may have to search via trade again to find your franchise quarterback in there.
And that's a big thing, man. I mean, because when the reason why I call out MJ and Magic, not to throw anybody under the bus, but when you're an elite player, it's hard. Most great players can't make great coaches. Magic wasn't successful. You get guys like Jeff Van Gundy. You get guys that just they know they're stewards of the game, or students of the game, if you will. They're not these guys that go out and imagine Michael Jordan trying to coach, and he thinks this is easy to knock down his shot, or he thinks it's easy to do this, to where the average person can't perform at that level night in and night out. So that's so hats off to the Broncos as they continue to look for that right quarterback. And I think when Austin Wallace showed back up for $7, Elway said, we'll give you league minimum $700,000. We brought him straight on in and hugged his neck, but we'll have to see how that falls out. Hey, listen, I want to talk a little bit more about them Redskins, if you're okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so listen, let's talk a little bit about Kirk Cousins. Last year, this dude put up 25 touchdowns, right?
Yes, sir.
25 touchdowns, and that's pretty impressive. He threw for let's say I think he threw for almost 5,000 yards, which is and then listen, you're losing 3 touchdowns from Pierre Garçon, and you're losing 4 touchdowns from Deshaun Jackson. But I think let's see, but are you not? Let's see, Crowder had 7 touchdowns, and Jordan Reed had 6 touchdowns. So that's kind of just going in from last year, just looking at some last year's stats. You should be pretty good. And so what it says here, I'm just looking at an offensive matchup between you two guys in that process is to Mike. Did I lose you? Yeah, so we're back again. We had a little technical difficulty, but Mike and I was just talking about, the receivers that they lost and what Kirk Cousins does. So, I know you guys franchise Kirk Cousins. So what's your take? Talk to me about that. Is he your man? Does he need to stay? What y'all gonna do?
In my opinion, as a lifelong Redskins fan, I just don't think he's the franchise quarterback. If he can win, fine. But I don't see him as our franchise guy. I think we got to search the draft via free agency to find that guy because there was some talk over the offseason. They thought about trading him.
Right.
He's due to make, I think, $25 million this year on the franchise tag. Well, if they can't reach a long-term agreement, he's going to walk away, and you're still stuck without a quarterback. So I don't see him as the franchise guy. He had a great year last year, and I appreciate Kirk Cousins, but I just don't see him as the franchise guy. I want to win. We ain't won a Super Bowl since '93. It's time for one.
Good
in
Lord.
The nation's capital.
I tell you what, folks, he's gonna bring it to you every month and not holding anything back, and that is none other than Mr. Mike Quick that we have on the show. He's no stranger, no need to introduce him. Actually, I was talking to my former boss today, and he was like, "Man, what you getting into?" I said, "Man, we got to drop his show." And I said, he said, you got your former player on Mike. Wasn't that his name? I said, yeah. He said, man, I listen to him every time he's on. So again, that's what's important, and it's about bringing guys on that's going to impact. We have had, just a tremendous outpouring of great talented people that, number one, is stopping and giving us time to talk about the things that they continue to do and continue to give back until this program. And then that's why it's an honor to have Mike on once a month for us. Number one, for us to catch up. Number two, just to talk about the things that we love, and that's the sports game. So, hey, Mike, I know you got a list. Let's go ahead and let's work down through your list. What's the next topic you got, sir?
All right, hey, before we do that,
yes, sir.
By this being the first podcast before the NFL season starts, let's go with a Super Bowl pick.
Whoa!
It may change. It may change.
Okay.
But let's go with a Super Bowl pick.
All right. So you want me to go first?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll go first. Now, and I'm not saying it, and I'm not doing it with my heart, but if with all the guns that we've got, if we do the things that we're supposed to do, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be standing at the 50-yard line for the coin toss in Super Bowl 51. I'm a partial to 51 because that was my number when I played, and then representing the AFC, I don't want anybody. I know Zeke gonna maybe be out, but I don't want to play anybody in the Super Bowl but the NFC, but them Dallas Cowboys. If I ain't in the Super Bowl, I want to meet them Cowboys and let it be a Steelers Cowboys Super Bowl again. No hard feelings toward my co-host because I know he's a hardcore Redskins, but I think they still got a little more work to do in order to be there. But again, from Coach Goins to the NFL fans, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys in Super Bowl 51.
All right, I agree with you on part of it, but my Super Bowl pick is something that I picked a couple of years ago, but I think is actually going to happen this season. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger, and the Steelers Super Bowl 51 versus Cameron Newton and the Carolina Panthers.
Oh,
I fully believe Cameron Newton will bounce back after dropping off after the MVP season. He has so many weapons on both sides of the ball right now, it would be a travesty, in my opinion, if Cameron Newton and the Panthers don't make it to the Super Bowl.
You know what? Let's go ahead and
Panthers over the Steelers in Super Bowl 51.
wait a minute, ladies and gentlemen. We just had technical difficulties coming in from North Carolina. I think Mike said that it was the Carolina Panthers over the Steelers in the Super Bowl. I have to call and make sure the satellites are lined up right. We might have a little bit of storm weather and down in North Carolina, but no, you heard it from Mike. So again, you know what? I don't have no problem. You know, and I tell people, you know, the older I get, Mike, I'm just going to be brutally honest. Making it to the Super Bowl and not winning, that used to bother me when I was younger. But now the older I get, the more I realize how tough it is to make it to the Super Bowl, how tough it is just to make it to the AFC or the NFC Championship. And then just like last year, you know, we made it to the NFC Championship. We didn't play AFC Championship. We didn't play well. Of course, as Charles Barkley said, win or go home, and we didn't win, so we had to go home. But at the end of the day, I stop and I look and I go, wow, you know what? There's not a lot of teams that say that, you know, we played in the AFC Championship, and that's the thing that, you know, the older I get, the more I appreciate, you know, having that opportunity to get there. So I appreciate you getting my boys there, and I don't have no problem with playing the Panthers. I just hope that we come out on top. So hey, listen, what I want to talk about, you know, a lot of times people don't realize in football, you know, it's all about the possession. You know, people think, oh, man, we didn't score any points. Okay, so here's my challenge to all you football gurus out there. When your team takes the field, just like tonight, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be the New England Patriots. Take a look at how many times an offensive team is on the field. How many times do you get to score touchdowns? Are you on the field 5 times offensively? 7 times offensively? Do you have 9 possessions? Do you have 12? If you're playing a team that loves to control the ball and loves to control the line of scrimmage with the football, that's gonna limit your offensive abilities, because you're not going to be on the field but so long because the other team is dominating the time of possession. And of course, I have to take my hats off to the Cowboys, because they do that. They churn the football. They move it up and down the field, so they limiting the time that you have. So those 3 and outs, or you see that stat, you'll see them say punt, 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 punt. Those are points that's not being tallied up on the board. 3 and out, yeah, that's a possession, but you only went 3 times and you were out. So track that this year. That's a huge stat. And I challenge people to really pay attention to the offensive possessions. And then if your defense is not scoring, if your defense is not setting up points, they may not run it. They might not have a pick six, but if they get an interception, it leads to a field goal or it leads to a touchdown. You know, that's points by the defense. Yeah, the offense scored, but that's still points by what the defense did on that side of the ball. So again, that was on my heart and that was on my mind. Actually, I'm kind of whirling that around today, just kind of preparing for today's show, and just realized that, you know what, man, that is a huge deal when you are not on the field offensively. So, Mike, you got any words on that?
I totally agree with that. You can't control the score if you're not on offense, really. So, in my opinion, like you said, just watch the game. How many times one team is on offense, the other team is on defense? Time of possession is big time in football.
You know what?
That's my take on that.
That's exactly right. So, hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give Mike a chance to clear his mind as he get ready to move on down into his notes. And so at this time, we just want to take a quick break and talk about ACT Sports. Again, that is ACT Sports. What is for your recreational sports needs. Actually, we had the directors of ACT Sports on a couple of weeks ago. That's Vincent and Candace Banks. But if you are looking for a dynamic place to place your kids for youth sports, you want to go to playactsports.com. And they have a little bit of everything. They've got football, flag football, registration is closed. Volleyball registration is closed. But they have basketball, travel basketball, rec basketball. They have baseball. It is just absolutely, we just finished track and field. So it's just great to get ready to start cross country. We just had some wrestling mats brought in. We just finished up our new gym, so hopefully that'll be up and rolling by basketball season. So again, playactsports.com for your recreational sports needs. Now, hey, we get ready to slide on over into the second half of the podcast, on which we call In the Paint. But before we do, We want to just make sure that you have opportunity to subscribe, you like us, you follow us, you leave a comment. Hey, and even, reach out and just say, hey, Coach, we'd like to hear about this or we'd like to hear about that. It's not about, folks spending a lot of money to be able to find out information, a lot of money about, I want to hear from this coach, I want to hear from that coach. So what we do on Basketball More in the Game is let you meet great folks like Mike Quick, let you meet great folks like Carl Simon, Coach Carl Simon, Coach Mike Apple, Coach Mark Wells, Ralph Sampson, Jason Capel, Victor Bullitt, the list goes on and on and on. Because why? It's because these guys and ladies, as well as like LaTanya Wynn, Sarah Jones, my mind just keeps running. We had absolutely dynamic people that's been on this show, giving back and being able to tell you and talk about things that are near and dear to their heart, and it's what made them successful without spending a lot of money. You just subscribe and you like us, and you'll be able to pick us up each and every week on our Sunday conversation. So with that break, we're going to jump right on back over. I'm going to toss it to Mike. Mike, go ahead and take us on down that list, sir.
Yes, sir. First topic, Coach Goins, I just want to talk about the first weekend in college football this week.
Yes, sir.
What was your take on college football, and who were the better teams that you've seen this weekend?
All right, so you know what? Let's start with the upset. If I would have had $100 and I would have put $100 on that ball game, when them fellas rolled up there to UNLV, and you know what? You just called his brother out and said his brother's going to be in the Super Bowl. Cam Newton's brother went out there, and that was Howard University from the nation's capital, rolled out there to the desert and took care of UNLV. And guess what? That was Coach Mike London, who was used to coach over at UVA in Charlottesville, who went out there and had probably one of the biggest upsets in college football history for a low mid major to slide out there and take out UNLV. So I'll turn my attention down. I think they played in the new Mercedes-Benz. You know what? How can you? Alabama's Alabama. People say they're too stacked. You know what? I'm not a big college football fan. Somebody says, well, you're a big time Steeler fan. Yeah, I don't like college. I'm not a big college football fan, and here's the reason why. Because if you lose a game in college football, 99% of the time they won't let you play for the national championship. So you take that same format and you roll it into the NFL. If the NFL was built and was structured like college football, nobody would watch it. Because name me the last NFL team that went undefeated. Now I think I'm going to call out the 72 Dolphins. So you're not going to play in the NFL without losing the game. So it's nothing about losing the game. It's what you do after you lose, even if you have multiple losses. So that's why I really struggle with college football, hoping and then if they really get this thing dialed in and create this whole system where you can have, if I lose to Alabama, just like Florida State, and I lose to Alabama, but then I come back and I run the table against everybody else, and I lost to Alabama, you got to look at me. I've got to still be one of the best teams in the nation. Just because I lost against the great. And somebody says, well, why is Alabama? Mike, I'm going to go ahead and run down this road since I got the mic. When I go out here and I recruit like Nick Saban does, and I get the top 6 players, say, every year, and then 2018, I get the next top 6 players. So that by the time those freshmen are now juniors, guess what I've got? I've got 12 guys that were the nation's best players. And then every year I reload with 5 or 6 of the nation's best. By the time these guys are seniors, I've got offense and a defense that is top to bottom full of the nation's best players. So I can't. It's just like we'll flip it to the Dean Dome. When Dean Smith was out recruiting, the guys that he was recruiting, God bless him. Don't get mad at the process. When John Wooden was doing it, when Coach K's doing it, when Roy Williams doing it, you know what? If you're drinking the Kool-Aid and you can take those guys, you can bring them together. They can play as one unit and rock and roll. You know what? Sometimes you run into a team like Clemson. Hats off to Dabo Swinney and the job that he's doing there. If I was a young man, Mr. Quick, I think I might have to be going down and playing in Clemson, South Carolina, because I just really, really like that coach. I really do. I hope that answers your question. I know that was a long way around the barn, but I just think, again, looking at the two, I thought was the two. And another great game I did watch was the Oh gosh, it was the Virginia Tech and West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Yeah, the kid Jackson for Virginia Tech. He's a special kid, and I think he'll do great things in Blacksburg.
I agree with you there, and I totally agree with you in regards to the Clemson assessment. If I'm a young kid and I'm going to college to play football, Dabo Swinney is the guy I want to play for. In my opinion, college football coaches Dabo Swinney, Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, they're the top of the heap for me. And this weekend we got two big ball games on the slate. We got Ohio State versus Oklahoma,
Ooh.
and we also got Clemson versus Auburn. So those are two more games that could shake up the national title picture and the playoff picture. I also like what they're doing at Penn State right now. I really do.
Yeah, you know what, Mike? And folks, don't ask me why Quick is a co-host on the show because he's laying it down like he does all the time. So if I got to I got to go with I have to roll with Ohio State Buckeyes. And again, I saw a great 30 for 30 on Maurice Correct a couple weeks ago. I know it's been out before, but when that comes on, I just have to kind of stop and just capture that moment. And of course, I'm going to run with those Clemson Tigers just because, as you said, if I was a young man coming out and Dabo Swinney came in and talked to me, I think I'd have to lace him up for them Tigers. So just, great opportunity, great environment, college football. Don't just because Coach Goins is not a huge fan of college football, just because, again, not anything against the players or the coaches. It's just a system that makes it very, very hard to follow. But Mike has called out two excellent games. Right there. Who's Alabama playing this week?
I'm not sure, but I can definitely find out.
Because I'm figuring that whoever they gonna roll, as they say, roll tide. You know what? Those jokers is rolling up on you, and they'll beat the brakes off of you if you're not careful in the entire process of what's happening and what that looks like. So great call out that Mike had right there. And again, actually, it's pretty awesome. And I think in my FCA magazine, that's the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, there's a great article in there with Coach Dabo Swinney out of Clemson, as we've been saying, giving as the old saying goes, you give honor where honor is due. And he's done a tremendous job, not just him, his entire coaching staff and everything they bring to the table. So, all right, Mike, let's what you got on that list, man? Because I know we holding back, and we're gonna talk a little bit of hoops.
Well, hey, let's switch gears a little bit, and that's exactly what I want to talk about next. The last time we were on the show last month, we talked about a trade that was in the works, something went down big between the top two teams in the Eastern Conference of the NBA, the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Give me your thoughts.
Well, you know what, I could see Boston doing that, and if I had to go back in archives, I think we might even talk a little bit about that. But am I right? Didn't we discuss a little bit about the possibility of?
Yes, we did. Thomas for Urban.
Yep. Yes, sir. See, that's right. You heard it right here on Basketball More in the Game, and that was Coach Quick and Coach Goins and that was several weeks ago. Before the trade went down. Yeah, I mean, here's my take on this, Mike. Number one, if you don't want to play for me, I want you gone. It's just that simple. I'm not going to be walking in the locker room and you looking over your shoulder and you doing all it. Okay, if you can't understand or you don't want to be a part, we want you gone. And then that's just, if you lose your locker room, you've lost your team. And then you bring a guy in that actually has the skill set. That is a true point guard, because Kyrie Irving is not a true point guard. If you think he is, you do not know the game of basketball. He is a scorer. He is a two guard. And in that, he wants to be the man. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to box him up, send him up north, and let him deal with the boys in Beantown. And we wish him the best on the court, but he is not a true point guard. He is he's a scoring guard, and if he wants to be the man, he'll have 82 games to show what's that worth to him.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and my take on the trade, I was kind of iffy at first. I didn't think Cleveland should have built Kyrie for Isaiah Thomas, only because Isaiah the hip injury, and I felt like Kyrie overall was a better player and he's bigger than Isaiah Thomas. But when I take a look deeper into the trade, Cleveland, I mean, they came out great in this deal. Anytime you get a defensive specialist like Jay Crowder, a scoring machine like IT, as well as a future first-round pick in 2018 that is owned by the Brooklyn Nets, and Ante Zizi, I guess that's how we pronounce his name. You get all of that for Kyrie Irving. In my opinion, Cleveland, they stole this deal.
That's right.
They raped Boston over the coals in this deal, if you ask me.
And I guess it's Boston's. I don't know. Let's call Danny Ainge out a little bit here. Is he looking to bring Kyrie Irving and him and Tatum? But you know that the league is your rookies can't win championships in the NBA. They just can't do it. Not by themselves. And then that you bring a guy. Now here's why I'm going to step out here and it says I'm going to get out on this limb and hope this limb can hold me up. Is you have to be careful when you bring a guy like Kyrie Irving into that locker room because he's played with the best player on the planet. Now he's going to come in that locker room, and you got those young guys. You got young, talented guys like Jason Tatum and whoever else may be in that locker room. What will spread? What will be his feedback to those guys about LeBron? Because now they're his teammates. So in that you got to be, and it's almost like you're letting a snake in the chicken coop, if you will. Because again, not that Kyrie's a snake. I'm just using that as a parable because you've got young guys that's going to look up to this guy and they're going to be like, all right, now why didn't he want to play with the best guy on the planet? But you want to come play with us because you want to be the man, or you trying to win championships? I mean, and again, I'm not wishing. I'm just looking at it. I'm trying to look at it 30,000 feet. I'm trying to look at it as a basketball guy. And I'm trying to look at it to be able to go, okay, yeah, you want to be able to go there because LeBron may be leaving. But I don't know. I mean, maybe Danny Ainge sees something. Maybe Kyrie wants to get out. He wants to prove himself. But like I said a minute ago, he's got 82 games, as I call it, the grind. He's got the grind to prove himself, and all eyes are going to be in Boston. I think like you said, Mike, Cleveland's going to be better. Because if Cleveland gets rid of Shumpert and get rid of J.R. Smith and pack them dudes up and send them down to the D League or let them go by and play Pinecrest, Union Pines, Barnstomp, whatever. Both of them dudes need to get up out of Cleveland because they just can't. You can't rely. And again, and that's kind of going down a different road. But you can't look at those guys and look at their bench and think they're going to get you what they're going to get you. And playing against elite players night in and night out because they just can't. They can't answer the bell.
Exactly. Yes, sir. All right. Next item on the list. The rich get richer in Durham, North Carolina. Duke basketball lands Marvin Bagley, a 5-star recruit from out on the West Coast. I believe it's Arizona. The kid reclassed from the 2018 class to the 2017 class. Ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing it first from a Tar Heel fan. If Duke is not the favorites to win the championship this year, and they don't win the championship, I would even be surprised. You heard it first from one of the biggest Tar Heel fans ever.
You know what, Mike? You're exactly right. But and now as always, you got to bring that talent together. Those guys have got to mold that point guard. And again, that's what I thought they were missing last year because they didn't have a true point guard. Hence, my whole scenario that we just talked about with Kyrie Irving. You've got to have a point guard in order to take care of, what you're doing out on the floor. So you look at now, who won the national championship last year?
The Tar Heels.
All right, so give me your starting five from the Heels from last year.
Point guard Joel Berry II, wing guard Theo Pinson, small forward Justin Jackson, power forward Isaiah Hicks, center Kennedy Meeks.
All right.
Roster was laid with upperclassmen.
All right. So in that, ladies and gentlemen, and I won't worry about him not naming them five. I just sitting there just smiling as he was dropping those names down. But that team had a point guard, a true point guard. And then and I'm gonna go. And you know what? Sometimes I'm gonna kind of quote my pastor here. Sometimes he said, if you don't toot your horn, it doesn't get tooted. And I knew a year ago that you need to take what's your man that was there year before last? The kid that hit the shot, and then when they played, Connecticut. Villanova. Yeah. Well, he went up and kind of bent that Marcus Page. When Marcus Page had the basketball in his hand, I kept telling my buddy, I was like, listen, Roy has got to get the ball out of his hands and put him out on the wing, and let Joe Barry, let him be your point guard. Let him do that. And when he did that, and again, I'm not Coach Goins and I'm not looking on anybody's cheat sheet, I'm just stating fact, is when you did that, this dude, you woke up a sleeping giant. So the Hills went on and had a redemption year. To see him in the Final Four in Houston and to turn around and watch him again in Phoenix, and they win it, being there live and actually talking to Mike before the game, halftime, and after the game, while we're there in Phoenix for those days. It was just tremendous, tremendous job. But you cannot play the game of college basketball without a true point guard. All teams, no matter what your front line is, at the end of the day, you have got to have a point guard to be able to run the show. That's my opinion. Somebody can say, go fly a kite. I'll fly a kite, put a key at the end of it, and we'll call it electricity. But I'm just telling you, you've got to have a point guard if you're going to do something. So Duke has brought this guy in, and Mike is exactly right. I think he's supposed to be the next coming. I think he's a big man. He can do it all. I've seen a little bit of video. I hadn't got the inside scoop on him, but I am here to tell you, they better have somebody that can bring that ball down in Cameron, quiet them folks down when they need to quiet down and take care of business. Because, watch this, over across town, and that place they call the Dean Dome, they got a point guard.
Yes, sir.
And they better be ready, because when they roll up they come over to Durham, or Durham rolls up to Chapel Hill, trust me, their point guard better be ready to roll up and then deal with Carolina's guard, because the kid is a true point guard. He does a great job, and I'm sure he's working at his game. Mike is right. Duke should be sitting pretty, but they've got to lock down that point guard position. Okay, Mike, I appreciate that you tossing them Blue Devils. Is it true? I know somebody, or is it just kind of rumor mill going around? I haven't heard anything official. I've been trying to go on the website, but they said that WRL had said something that Coach K may be retiring at the end of the season.
I haven't heard anything of that note, but that's big speculation there.
Yeah.
But I would definitely be looking into that, trying to find out if that's true or not. But to piggyback off of what you said, a true point guard is right, and Coach K knows that. He went out and he got one, and Trayvon Duval. But at the end of the day, he's a freshman. Be it a talented freshman. Duke, they're loaded. Bagley, when you think about Bagley, Grayson Allen returning, Gary Trent Jr., who's the son of the former Shaq of the Mac, Gary Trent Sr., to have the big kid from out of Georgia, Wendell Carter. Duke is absolutely loaded. They're talented, but the key to it is going to be that point guard position. Can Trayvon Duval handle it? Will he be able to handle all the pressure? I know there's been a knock on the kid that he can't shoot. So we're going to see whenever we roll that basketball out. I think practice starts somewhere around September 25th, 27th, somewhere in that area. But Duke also landed another 5-star wing and 6'8" Cameron Reddish within the last week for 2018. So the rich just keep getting richer. Mike Krzyzewski just keep piling it on. And if he is about ready to retire, it's going to be interesting to see.
You know what? That's exactly right. It's just as one of I quote Mike says, "The rich get rich," and I quote one of Tyler Perry's shows. The have and the have-nots. So in that's let's just kind of hang out right there. And Mike just brings an excellent point. You think about it. They go out and they get these guys to come in year after year after year. And what is it? Is it the coach? Is it the coaches? Or is it the former players calling these guys? Think about it. If Mike Quick is a Washington, if Mike is coming out and he's a all-state center, and he's going to get an opportunity to go and come out of go to Carolina, and Mike played his high school career in Carolina Regalia. So he gets out and he's getting ready to. He got the NFL, and all of a sudden he's getting calls from Art Monk, Joe Theismann. He's getting encouragement to do what? The man, and then they draft him. So as he's being recruited, think about if Mike was that 6'9" kid coming out of Union Pines High School back in the day, and next thing he knows, he gets a call from Michael Jordan saying, Mike, this is Mike talking to Mike. You really need to come to Chapel Hill. I think you would fit in good. And next thing you know, he gets a call from Michael Corn, Phil Ford, Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson, Ed Cota. Just the list goes on and on of all of the Carolina alum they may be calling. So, you think about these powerhouse universities when they have their alumni being able to call these young guys and say, you know what, you would really look good in that Carolina blue. Hey, you'd really look good being being the brotherhood, and that's what they call themselves in the medical city. So what Mike, you've done your homework. You got these guys. So what's on that sheet of paper about them fellas over there in Chapel Hill?
An interesting point that you just made. You just brought up a great point. It's a big-time recruiting weekend in Chapel Hill this weekend, as we're set to honor all the past national championship teams during the football game between UNC and Louisville this weekend, as well as honor the 17 championship team with their rings this weekend. Well, ladies and gentlemen, guess who is honorary captain for the football team this weekend? None other than the greatest basketball player to ever live and lace up a pair of sneakers, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He will be on campus this weekend as the Tar Heels are hosting on his official top 10 recruit, Nasir Little, from out of Florida, will be on campus for his official, along with 2018 commits, Rashawn Leakey Black out of Concord, North Carolina, Kobe White out of Wilson, North Carolina, as well as 2019 commit point guard Jeremiah Francis from out of Pickerton, Ohio, and 2019 recruits Wendell Moore out of Concord, North Carolina, and Armando Bagtot, 6'9" power forward out of Richmond, Virginia. So, ladies and gentlemen, these guys are going to be on campus with the legendary, the greatest to ever do it, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So, big-time recruiting weekend. Let's see if we can reel some of these guys in to the champs.
You know what? So, folks, you don't ask me, and I ain't gonna tell you, but that is none other than Mike Quick laying it down North Carolina style. Via telephone. Coach Goins is in the studio here in VA. Mike's via telephone in North Carolina. But it's such an honor and privilege that we get together every month to be able to do this show, to spend some time, and just that's what it's about. For you coaches, I'm gonna go ahead and Mike again, just tremendous job there, buddy. You do your homework. Without a shadow of a doubt, I make a call and say, "Hey, Mike, let's get together." It's that time of month, and he's able to step up to the plate. So you young guys, you have an opportunity to, think about it. Let's fast forward, 20 years from now, you guys that are playing for coaches, and coaches able to come back and do what Mike and I do. That's what it's about. It's not about Coach Goins. It's not about basketball. It's about, more than the game. It's more than the game to Mike. It's more than the game than me. And then we're able to just to, use technology. We're states apart, but we're able to use technology and leverage that and be able to get together, fellowship, talk about things that are very passionate to us. But most importantly, we just try to impact the folks that are listening throughout the United States and across the world. We are so excited about just the direction that it's headed. And I cannot, and I say this all the time, and I have to thank Mike for his leadership over the years and how his life has impacted mine and vice versa. But most importantly, to all of our listeners and subscribers, this is why we do what we do. This is why we're passionate about what we're passionate about, to get the word out so folks have that inside track. So when you sit down and you turn on your television, you hear this kid and you hear this trade, there was a time that you sit back and go, wow, man, those guys were talking about that on the show. And that's what it's all about. It's about impacting the people that you care about the most, and the people that we care about the most are the people that are dialing in our show, listening, and just being able to make it happen. So with that, we're going to go ahead and toss it back over to Mike for his closing comments, and Coach Goins will be back shortly. Mike, you can go ahead and put the wraps on us.
Yes, sir. Coach Goins, I really appreciate you having me on the show again this month as the co-host, and I hope you enjoyed the show today just as much as I have. It's been truly a blessing to just be able to sit here and talk about sports, talk about the game that we love, and just be able to interact with each other. You've been a blessing to my life over the years, and you're still blessing me by allowing me the opportunity, number one, first and foremost, to be my friend, and then as well to be a part of basketball more than a game. So I truly thank you. And as we close the show today, I just would like to say, always remember that somebody is somewhere working on their game. So keep your feet and your head above ground.
You know what, folks? That's none other than Mr. Mike Quick, and I'm going to end it this way on John, our scripture verse, John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the light. So, on behalf of Coach Quick, Coach Goins, we thank you for your time, your talent, and we thank everybody for tuning in for another Sunday conversation on basketball, more than the game, and we'll see you in the gym.